The lights in the wedding photo studio glowed with a soft, dreamy warmth, casting a gentle halo around Diep as she stood before the ivory backdrop. The dress she wore wasn't the grandest among the rows of ornate gowns lining the walls. Yet on her, delicate, composed, luminous, it appeared as though it had been woven from sunlight and the quiet hopes she rarely said aloud. James straightened his tie for the fourth time, but his eyes never left her. Not once. Not even for a second. "Ready?" the photographer asked. James extended his hand. Diep hesitated only for a heartbeat before placing hers into his. Her fingers were cold, trembling slightly. He gave them a gentle squeeze, a silent promise pressed into her palm, an attempt to pour reassurance into her skin through touch alone. "We're ready," he said, not to the camera, but to her. The camera clicked rapidly. Each shot captured fragments of their story. The subtle laughter she tried to hide, the way she instinctively leaned into him, the small upward curve of his smile whenever her eyes met his. Their closeness, effortless and unposed, made even the photographer pause for a breath. To an outsider, the scene was a portrait of two people standing a step away from the threshold of happiness, a couple about to walk into a bright, uncomplicated future. But only Diep could feel the tension pulsing through James's hand, subtle but undeniable. And only James could sense that behind Diep's radiant smile was a thin veil of worry. Because outside the studio walls, nothing was glowing. A storm had been circling them for weeks. James's company was on its knees, contracts delayed, partners withdrawing without explanation, whispers rising about John's return like dark smoke gathering under a door. He had tried to hide the pressure from Diep, afraid that she might feel burdened or unsafe. But Diep was far from unaware. She had noticed the exhaustion settling beneath his eyes like bruised shadows he tried to disguise with a smile. She had seen the late-night calls he silenced whenever she entered the room. She had felt the sudden stiffness in him whenever wedding plans were mentioned. Still, under the warm studio lights, she leaned her head gently on his shoulder as another photo was taken. "You look nervous," she whispered. "And you look beautiful," he breathed back. His tone was light, but his heart wasn't. As he held her, a question haunted him. Was it selfish to bring her into a life tangled with uncertainty? When would he be able to give her the peace she deserved? When would they actually walk down the aisle? Diep looked up at him. Her eyes, soft, steady, searching, seemed to ask for truths he wasn't ready to share. He kissed her forehead, hoping she wouldn't see how his fear trembled beneath the surface. For now, the studio protected them like a fragile bubble. But once they stepped outside, reality would claw its way back. When they exited the studio, the warm glow dissolved instantly. Evening breeze brushed Diep's cheeks, carrying the scent of jasmine from nearby street vendors. She lifted the hem of her dress delicately while James carried the garment bag. He walked slightly ahead, not to distance himself, but to hide the heaviness pressing on his shoulders. James, Diep called softly. He stopped. You've been quiet since earlier. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just tired. Long day. You're lying. The way she said it, not accusing, but calm, almost tender, made him blink. What's wrong? She asked again, her voice a soft landing spot for every fear he had been swallowing whole. He wanted, desperately, to tell her everything, that the company finances were sinking. That John had resurfaced. That investors were slipping away. That he was terrified, of failing, of losing, of dragging her into danger. But he swallowed it all again. I'm fine, Diep. Don't think too much. She lowered her eyes, fingers brushing the folds of her dress. She didn't believe him, but she understood him. James always tried to shield her, even from the truth. The sky deepened to a violet haze as they reached the parking lot. A few stars pricked the horizon like faint promises. Beside the car door, Diep asked quietly, "Are we still getting married this year?" The question hit him like a blow to the chest. She wasn't impatient. She wasn't pushing him. She simply needed to know whether the future they had just posed for was real, or just a photograph. His hesitation lasted only a moment. But it was long enough for her to see. "Of course we will," he finally said. "I promised, didn't I?" She nodded, though her eyes dimmed briefly, a flicker so quick he almost missed it. The drive home was silent. The kind of silence that wraps around two people who love each other deeply but cannot bridge the growing distance between their hearts. At their apartment entrance, she tugged gently at his sleeve. "If something is wrong, don't carry it alone," she whispered. "I'm here." James kissed her hand, a gesture full of devotion but empty of truth. He watched her walk inside before following. Later that night, Diep slept peacefully, her hand resting on his chest. James stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Time was not waiting for him, and the future they dreamed of was drifting farther out of reach. The morning sun filtered through curtains, soft and harmless. Diep hummed a tune in the kitchen. Niece scribbled happily in her little chair. The scene was so perfect that it felt fragile, as though a single breath could break it. But James woke to the weight of a world collapsing. His phone buzzed with relentless calls. investors, contractors, banks, each demanding answers he didn't have. At breakfast, Diep studied his face. James, you looked worried yesterday. Is work difficult? He hesitated for half a second. She noticed. It's just the usual stress, he said. She didn't believe him, but she didn't push. Sometimes love means waiting for someone to open the locked door themselves. Across town, in a cold conference room, James sat before three investors whose sharp, impatient gazes cut through him like razors. Your financial reports are unstable. If you don't secure funds by next month, we will pull out. Time is exactly what you don't have. The words echoed long after he left the building. Echoed as he gripped the steering wheel in a parked car, breath shaking. Echoed as he wondered how much longer he could keep the truth from Diep. Everything, his company, his future, his marriage, was slipping through his grasp. That evening, Diep found James sitting alone at the kitchen table, still in his work clothes, tie loosened, eyes empty. She touched his shoulder gently. James, look at me. He lifted his gaze, and the fear she saw there nearly broke her. Tell me what's wrong, she whispered, kneeling beside him. Every day you drift a little further away. He swallowed hard. Are you afraid I won't stay if things get hard? His eyes widened. That was exactly what he feared. James, she said, voice trembling, I didn't fall in love with your success. I didn't choose you because of money or status. I chose you because of who you are. Even if you lose everything, I won't leave. For the first time, James allowed himself to lean into her embrace. He did not confess, not fully, but he let her hold him, and sometimes, that is the first step a breaking man can manage. The next day, as they stepped out of the studio again, sunlight washed over them in warm gold. Diep looked small, fragile, still blushing from the photographer's jokes. James wanted to take her home, make tea, tell her everything would be okay. But his phone buzzed. A message. No words, only a photo. A grainy shot of him in deep inside the studio. Taken from outside. Someone was watching. His blood ran cold. Diep tugged his sleeve. James? You look pale. I'm just tired, he said, brushing her hair aside, but his hands were shaking. As they walked toward the bakery, James scanned every passing stranger. Every alley. Every shadow. Then he heard it, a soft strumming of guitar. Diep brightened. Oh, it's him again. The homeless musician she once helped. But James noticed something she didn't. The mont's eyes were too sharp. Too aware, too familiar. Diep gave him a bun with her usual kindness. He accepted it. Only when she turned away did his expression shift. Recognition, not gratitude. Then James's phone buzzed again. You can't protect her forever. His breath left him. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. Diep was being watched, targeted, and the enemy was closer than either of them imagined.